Hi, I'm Brent Stafford, and this is RegWatch by RegulatorWatch.com. We're here at Canada's Vape Expo 2018 in Toronto, and with Shaun Casey. How's it going, Shaun?
Hey, Brent.
So we've never got you on camera before, so it's like getting a cheetah that runs around all over the place.
There's nails on my arm, so I can't move, so.
Well, that's wonderful. So look, we're at the end of a long process, or is it the beginning of the end?
We're at the midway point. I would say the hard work is done.
Explain that.
Well, at the beginning of the process, we needed to educate the regulators. And clearly there was an absolute dichotomy of ignorance, I'll say.
And this is provincial and federal, right?
We dealt with health ministers, that would go on the record to say that nicotine caused cancer at the beginning of this. We've come a long way, I could say.
So explain some of the most challenging aspects with regard to federally.
Federally?
Yes.
Well, we started with a Liberal government 5 years ago. They made one positive step, and that was the formation of the HESA committee. The HESA report, quite frankly, was a very positive report in my perspective for the long term of vaping, but not the short term. The problem is that our past government didn't act on it. That was a Conservative government. They created a report and then sat back and let the provinces get very upset. And unfortunately, what happened was that we had to deal with a mind-numbing siege of provincial regulation across the country. For a small country and a small organization as strong as CVE has become, it was a monumental task to actually be running from province to province to put out fires from each one of these provinces, deciding to create their own regulations.
So there was battles fought, and some won in the provinces and some lost.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we're going to be the first ones to say that it was a big fight. Okay, to be fighting on multiple fronts is a bad decision for any army, and a small army for sure, because we have limited resources, we have limited people. We're a volunteer, not-for-profit organization. I can't even say that I've seen an American organization be able to fight on 11 fronts all at once with as many provinces as we have in Canada.
So Bill S5, which is the federal legislation, has now received royal assent. That's it, right? Boom.
Well, it is a law. Okay, vaping now is a legal entity in Canada. What we have achieved on a very macro level for people to understand is that we have created a unique regulatory framework for vaping as a subset. We redrew the whole Tobacco Act to now be called the TVPA, or the Tobacco and Vaping Products Act. So now we are a whole subset of a Tobacco Act now with our own regulatory category.
So what does it mean to be legal?
Well, first off, it means that I can buy this product legally, and a retailer member of ours can sell it legally. It means that we are now forming a set of regulations that will guide all of the laws, to build the liquid, to ensure safety in the devices, and to ensure that all of the parameters that we've agreed to largely relative to lifestyle and those types of things.
For advertising, you're talking.
Absolutely. I mean, we have now absolutely agreed as an industry with the government that we have to do everything we can to prevent youth access to this product.
So for Canadian businesses, and there's quite a few of them now that are involved, there's EGS manufacturers, of course there's a lot of right-on-the-ground vape retailers. I would assume that this provides stability.
It absolutely provides. It gives us a understanding that this is an industry that's going to last. It's going to have a strong future. We're now in the business of taking a small, fledgling, largely cottage-based industry that might be somewhere just shy of 300 million. And now we're on the road to take it to where it can be, which is $4 to $5 billion, which is the sales of tobacco here in Canada today.
Now your company is Flavor Art that you work for, and great sponsor of RegWatch, thank you. You're traveling all around the world, seeing marketplaces around the world. How is Canada's different than everywhere else, and are we setting a trend in a good way?
So positively, the framework of S5 is vaping as a consumer product. As long as we're not going to make any mitigated health claims as an NRT or gums, passages, and lozenges do, then we're a consumer product. So we're going to now go through a regulatory process with our government to define the regulations for the sale and manufacture of this business as a consumer product. So that in itself is absolutely unique. No other country has done that. What we now need to do is to start emulating what happened in the UK, and our biggest challenge, I would say, and our biggest thing that we can do right now as an industry, and CVA is certainly focused on this, is now getting all of the facts straight from all of the propaganda that anti-tobacco has pushed. Largely, and to start with, the way the UK did it, with the medical community, right? The RCP was a formation of a report from a very, very esteemed organization that doctors belong to. The difference between the UK and Canada is they have one central medical system. We have a provincial medical system.
So Health Canada, one of the issues that RegWatch always had with S5 was the clamping down on free speech and the inability to make comparisons between smoking and vaping. I mean, how could you actually live with not being able to compare the two in some manner or another?
Right.
You don't need to make health claims per se, you just need to be able to compare them, for instance. But Health Canada did make a move through the process on that, and you've got some information directly from interactions with Health Canada on that, which you shared online. All of our viewers may not have known this information. Please break this for us.
Well, the fact is that Health Canada is listening, and they're learning. And I'm very, very happy with the relationship that CVA has today with Health Canada and their regulators. We asked them to lead with science. Our line has always been that science is catching up with vaping. In a number of our provincial legislative regulations that we've created with government, we've always asked as an absolute must, if I let everything else go off the table, I wanted to ensure that there was a mandatory 2-year review process. Because again, science is catching up with vaping, and they listened.
What about the statements? I know you can't maybe share directly, but give us an idea of what Health Canada is kicking around.
Well, I mean, it's unbelievable. I can't quote it because I don't have it in front of me, obviously. But in our last meeting 2-3 weeks ago with Health Canada, with James Van Loon, the Tobacco Director General, he handed across the table, before even being released, he said, guys, we've listened. We have a responsibility in this. And when I read those words in the paper, like literally I just about fell off my chair, because when you read into it, and you can certainly post into the final edit, some of the lines, they actually talked about vaping as a quitting. And we don't use the word quit.
Yeah, when I saw that word,
word quit, I went, oh, what? Okay, are you comfortable with that? And we do not proclaim to be a cessation device. Very important in our lexicon.
But Health Canada is saying you might be allowed to say that.
Well, might. They put it in paper. Okay, there is a marketing trove of information that if I was a e-liquid manufacturer or retailer, that I'd be using right now, because that's all fair game. That's on the roll, in writing, on Health Canada's website today. And there's some very positive statements, and that's just the beginning. And then he told us, this is just the start.
So it sounds like there has been a full 180, or 360, or whatever you want to.
Well, I think it was always there. You use the word precautionary principle, and I love that term, because it's absolutely correctly. And we understand, and I think that we have a very mature view to say, we understand our roles, our responsibilities, the issues and threats of this industry coming. We do not want a new addicted generation addicted to nicotine. We do not want that. No one wants that in this industry. But we had to prove in a number of things that we've done over the years that might be missed by the general industry at large of what we were doing, but we are creating a firm, credible stakeholder relationship with the government. Would that create profits? Would it create results? Okay, you never know until the end. Certainly in Quebec it didn't. Okay, as you well know, you've covered that story of what's happening there. But in Canada, I can say that it has. They created a science council. And people that you've interviewed yourself that are very, very close to CVA, Dr. Linda Bold, okay, Dr. Mark Tyndall, and these are people that cannot be discounted. Okay, their statements cannot be viewed as allegorical. They have enough foundation. They're now on a science council, okay, to actually start deciding those statements that we can make based upon science. And I'm okay as long as there's people like these people, okay, and I feel very comfortable that if left in their hands to make the statement based solely on science as we move forward and science continues to further itself to say that vaping is, okay, something, okay, that adults should turn to. We have a very big job here today. Brent. Right now, okay, the majority of smokers out there believe, based upon the propaganda that the left has created, okay, that vaping is just as bad as smoking.
Yeah, it's astonishing they believe that.
Right?
Yeah.
Smokers believe that nicotine causes cancer. I think it's 40+% of smokers believe that nicotine is a carcinogen.
So a win federally, I would say it's a win, but what about Ontario? It did not look like a win. CVA looked like it got screwed at the end, vapors in Ontario, at the last minute by the Wynne government. Is that not what happened?
The Wynne government got politically pushed to drop the regs, even after they had told us they would let the regs on 174 slide and work through the science. That was a political game, and I understand that that's part of the politics, okay, of a political election. And obviously in this last election, the Wynne government was in the polls, okay, looking pretty weak, and they were looking for everything that they could get on their side. The other unfortunate thing in Ontario is that Bill 174 is an omnibus bill, right, tied to the cannabis. And the pressure was not on vaping, the pressure was ensuring that the Liberal vote saw that the Liberals were going to be tough on cannabis in Ontario. So the regs dropped on Bill 174. There was only one last thing that they hadn't given up. They gave us a lot of very strong things, the strongest of which is giving us the vape product specialty shop exemption. Okay, allowing only...
So that did make it through.
That made it through, okay? And that was, quite frankly, on the top of my list, okay, for must-haves. Now in Ontario, very similar to other provinces of what we've created, we're unique again in Canada that we're the only country that has a regulation that has a specialty category for a vape shop, allowing them, and only them, when they have in Manitoba 80, in Ontario 85% content of vape product in their shop. So now in those provinces, if you are not a vape product specialty shop, okay, which you actually in Ontario have to register not with tobacco enforcement, surprisingly with your local health unit, okay, your regional health unit in Ontario, which I kind of like.
That's a win.
That's a win.
A good one.
I like it. I like it. Okay, then okay, you can display and promote, which means that the C-store, the gas station...
The Convenience Store Association does not like the CVA.
They don't like the CVA, and they probably don't like me, okay? I'm pretty sure that I put on ignore all the hate mail, okay, inside of my...
So making sure we understand the thing that, the one thing that you didn't get that you're hoping to was the in-store sampling, right?
In-store sampling, to be able to vape in a vape shop.
So, but now for some people, well, actually for a lot of people, they're happy because the Wynne government's no more. I'm very happy about that. So, what do you think is in store now with the Ford regime when he comes in? Is that going to be better for vaping, do you think?
We were in conversation with the Ford campaign all the way through the election. We know that they understand our issue. They understand that it needs to be based on science. A number of their key people that are very attuned to the vaping issue are basically saying to us, we'll sit down. And we look forward to, as soon as the government is completely formed in the next weeks, to sitting down with the PC party and carrying on doing what we do, is maintaining a relationship with government to ensure the future of this industry is best set out by proper and fair regulation.
So what is the next thing that vape store owners, retailers, and others that are in the industry, on the ground in the industry, what do they need to do? Is CVA getting enough support? What's the next thing that has to happen?
There's nowhere near enough support. There is unfortunately a general ignorance to what we do for them, why to support CVA. And honestly, for $100 a month, I look at that cost as being, even for a small shop that's getting going and really like living hand to mouth, okay, it's less than the profits from one bottle of e-liquid every 4 days in their store. The profit, not the cost of it, the profit from one bottle. So you sell one bottle every 4 days. Take that profit, okay, and put it to, okay, an investment in the future of your business, because there's still a lot to do. Now, the fight is never going to be ultimately over for this product category. There's regulatory groups, okay, advocating for their industry for 50 years, and there will always be something coming up. Okay, we're certainly not the NRA, but we are the son of cigarette. Okay, so so far, what's remarkable to us, and no one talks about it, but we have staved off taxation for this product category 100%. Okay, so far, okay, every time that we work against, we take it right off the table, and they immediately see that this is not going to be a win for them politically to tax something that is a harm reduction product, and we make sure that they understand that. And for that alone, CVA has had a huge win. And if you look at what's happening south of the border, okay, 40 cents, okay, per 10 mils of tax, or okay, worse in some states, okay, that's a death knell, okay, to the private vape shop and turns the business over to big tobacco. So that in alone is a win. But now we need to sit back down at the table. The vaping in a vape shop thing has science totally on our side. We have now a very esteemed doctor, Dr. Akbar Khan, okay, who's our chief medical advisor. He's doing op-eds. We have studied the science. There's no question that there's neither secondhand vapor, okay, nor third-hand vapor that causes any harm to bystanders. The science is on our side. What we need to do is we need to accommodate the government. We need to provide all levels of insurances. We've already given up the fact that you have to be 19 in Ontario to even to even enter a vape shop. So kids are not going to be exposed to that. We assume that a person coming into a vape shop to look at vape is already smoking a cigarette, okay? So it's not like I'm going to harm him in any way, but there's no science that says that there is negative consequences to public health or personal harm based upon secondhand vapor. And we need to accommodate the government, and we need to come to a resolution. We need to be working with occupational health and safety. I understand they're a player in this equation, not just the government. That's a separate thing into itself, right? And that's pretty important. We need to ensure that we're protecting our workers, other members. Okay, I need to know that myself. Okay, we need to be able to say the science is absolutely there, that if I'm an employee in a vape shop, I am not at harm's way by inhaling, okay, vapor throughout the day, although I am a vapor, right?
Well, some people think it's a dodge a bullet, and they just don't understand how much work it takes to work with a big Goliath like government, especially when it's coming in to regulate a brand new industry. There's never been anything like it in my lifetime, where I've seen something grow organically from consumers into a multi-billion-dollar industry, and then you've got this scramble to get regulation on it. And like you said, it's the son of cigarettes, so it's just filled with politics and acrimony and propaganda and misinformation, and I think you guys did a great job.
Hey man, I appreciate it. Okay. As always, listen, Brent, thanks for RegWatch, because RegWatch has been an integral part of our fight. Okay, presenting the public awareness, okay, presenting an absolute, okay, understanding of the issue and surrounding all of the facts is incredibly important. It's not minus journalism from my perspective. The way you have presented this issue for us, to the regulators, to the public, has given people a perspective that they might have not seen in a traditional, okay, newspaper or TV 30-second spliff.
Well, I appreciate that, and you're right, it's not biased. Our content comes from a point of view, and we took a very, very, very simple point of view when we started our coverage, and that was vaping is not smoking. That was it. And if that makes you biased, well, then we're biased.
Yeah.
Right? Otherwise, we took a stand, we took a point of view, and that point of view seemed to be very simple and made common sense. And from that, informed all of our coverage. Thanks, man.
Thank you.